The most dominant force in the turbo hybrid era, Mercedes, was pushed into the midfield during the start of this season as they were unable to adapt well enough to the 2022 regulation changes. But they have come back strongly during the Spanish Grand Prix with a new set of upgrades. They introduced different changes to their car, but nothing looked strong as the Barcelona upgrade, as it was capable of presenting some quality wheel-to-wheel racing against the reigning world champion, Max Verstappen. At one time, George Russell pushed his car to the first place, but sandwiched in between two Red Bull challengers. Clever tactical strategies of Red Bull engineers and brilliant driving style of both Verstappen and Perez were able to keep the silver arrow of George Russell behind both RB8 teams. Seven-time world champion Lewis Hamilton also showed some greater improvement, but it was not sufficient enough to push his car to a podium finish. But the technical data clearly shows that their biggest headache, the porpoising problem, was solved to a greater extent with the new updates. Hey guys, welcome back to F1 Leaked, the best place for your daily dose of trending news and gossips regarding Formula 1. Before we proceed, hit the subscribe button and smash the notification bell for more exciting updates. Prior to this race, the main concern regarding the Mercedes was whether they remain on the zero-pod design or switched back to the wider side pod design that they had used during the first preseason test in Barcelona. Many fans complain that the unique side pod lack body design of the Mercedes W13 is the main reason for their issue. But the Brackley-based squad kept their faith on zero pods, citing that their performance of the car is reduced with a wider side pod. This is totally a technical decision of the team relative to the decision based on the external appearance of the car. Mercedes team principal said that the old spec is much slower on the paper, explaining their team to stick with the zero pod design. We're not looking at the lady next door, and if we like it more or not because it's still good, Wolff added. As a matter of fact, we need to understand, before you make a decision to switch to another concept, where did this one go wrong? What is the goodness of the concept, and what is the badness of the concept? And that is a question you can only respond to yourself, but I would be asking ourselves to get an answer after Barcelona, because that's the real correlation we have. And by then, we've got to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, did we get it wrong or not? Even though they used many upgrades without making much harder changes on side pods, they were showing a huge improvement during Miami Grand Prix by crossing the finish line at 5th and 6th positions. So they used the same zero pod design for the Spanish Grand Prix by making several changes, especially to the floor design and front wings. Without suddenly shifting back to the wider side pods, they used this as an opportunity to compare the effect of zero pods and wider side pods, as Barcelona was the track used for the first preseason test. In that race also, they didn't use a wider side pod design, but opted to use a radical zero pods in the second practice session. Expressing his idea to use Barcelona Chance as an opportunity to collect necessary data for their race engineers, Toto Wolff said, "Well, I wouldn't discount anything," he told, "but we need to give all of our people who have produced great race cars in the past the benefit of the doubt, and we believe this is the route to go down." Barcelona is definitely going to be a point in time when we are able to correlate with what we've seen in February and gather more data. I'm also annoyed by always saying the same thing a lot, gathering data and making experiments, but it's physics and not mystics. As they were told, the side pod was not the issue for the porpoising and the reduction of performance level of the car, Mercedes engineers are able to achieve such successful results during the Spanish Grand Prix by finishing the race in 3rd and 5th positions after a tough battle with top teams like Red Bull and Ferrari. That is a good sign to prove that Mercedes is improving race by race. Mercedes made changes to the front wing and floor edge tweaks as it strives to cure the bouncing problem. They added a small dive plane in the chassis keel area just over the tongue of the floor. This is similar to the majority of rival cars. It slightly realigns the airflow and sets up a vortex to strengthen the flow characteristics where it enters the underfloor at the center of the car. Now it is at the lowest position with the outer edge in line with the edge of the floor. They didn't add much modification to front corner of the floor, which means to get the total downforce up to the peak, they are expecting, and engineers have tried to get more support from the rear section through new modifications. The car is definitely reacting differently. We've got different limitations this time, said Russell after the race. We definitely don't have the porpoising in the straight, which is good, but we're still experiencing a little bit here and there in the corners, which ultimately you need to dial it out through the corners. Lewis Hamilton expressed his gratitude to Mercedes engineers, and he was super with the progress that they have made. Before the Spanish Grand Prix, he was very angry with the series of issues in their 2022 Challenger. We're not the quickest yet, but I think we're on our way. It's the first time we're driven down the straight without bouncing. We still have some bouncing, but it's way better. So yeah, starting to take into a bit of the potential in our car, Hamilton said. Before the introduction of the Barcelona upgrade package, Lewis Hamilton was furious, complaining that the car was undrivable with the continuous bouncing of the car. So, Toto Wolff has produced a drivable car, and now it is the chance for both Hamilton and Russell to prove their talent as they are now close to unleashing the full potential of the car. Hamilton is somewhat struggling with the failures in early races, but Russell is just 36 points away from the championship leader, which can be covered with several straight wins. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel to not miss anything related to Formula One. See you guys in the next video. Goodbye.